top US intel agency bans jihadist and radical Islamist as offensive. This is a story that didn't get a lot of coverage, but parts of the United States intel services are going woke, you guys. Okay. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence, or ODNI for short, in the United States has issued new guidelines urging intelligence personnel to avoid terms like jihadist and radical Islamist, which are deemed offensive to Muslim Americans. This initiative, revealed through a Freedom of Information Act request by the Daily Wire, so FAI, no, what do we call it? FOAI? No, no, OIA. Sorry, I'm so dyslexic. Um, Revealed by the Daily Wire is part of a broader effort by the ODNI's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Accessibility Office to refine languages used in counterterrorism contexts to avoid reinforcing stereotypes or alienating Muslim communities. The internal document emphasizes that, quote, words matter and seeks to, quote, disentangle Islam from words and phrases used to discuss terrorism and extremist violence, aiming to replace them with less provocative terms such as Khawarij, referencing historical Islamic sects. And we'll explain why Armin just had that reaction in a second. This shift has sparked criticism and debate around the balance between sensitive communication and the clarity of security terminology, which opponents like Senator Tom Cotton arguing, quote, the Biden administration is putting DEI above national security concerns is a tragedy waiting to happen. Our intelligence agencies should be spending their time fighting terrorists, not worrying about whether they will offend them. End quote. Okay. So there's so much to unpack here. Um, and okay, so they don't want to like alienate their Muslim colleagues. That's fine. You know, you don't want to like alienate parts of the population. That's fine. My general opinion is if you cannot call someone who is a radical Islamist, I don't know what you can call them. Because our this is another example of how like progressive or like DEI terminology is actually conflating all Muslims with these things. Like all Muslims are not Islamists. That is a specific thing. All Muslims are not jihadists. That is a specific thing. So my kind of philosophy is I'm like, you would only be offended by this if the shoe fits. You know, if you were not a radical Islamist, why would you be offended by that term? Unless someone was calling you that and you really are not that. You know, I can understand that, like, kind of thing. But they suggest that instead of calling someone a jihadi or instead of calling someone an Islamist, even though Islamism is a specific movement that does factually exist and have power throughout the world, instead they should call these people the Khawarij because it is less provocative. But Armin, can you explain how that is actually extremely deeply offensive to call someone part of the Khawarij? I was like, that's the term that's less offensive? These people don't know shit. Okay, please explain.
Well, well, before I explain the issue with that, this is absolutely dangerous. This is so worrying. I always this is a huge new level because as as much as wokeism spreads like a tumor everywhere and causes problem, we thought that intelligence agencies were always going to be immune to this. I mean, that is a place not just immune to wokeism, but just ideological in general. one reason why I personally felt safer in Western countries is, as much as the nonsensical like views people might have and it might spread, there are certain institutions and places that just don't fuck around, that they have a goal and they are very pragmatic about it, and these types of views are just not going to spread there and influence their behavior. Your country's intelligence agency is your first line of defense against all threats. So for wokeism to have been able to infiltrate your intelligence agencies, you have to be extremely worried, especially given that this is not just America's intelligence agency, this is the world's intelligence agency, to be fair. Like, this is
One
basically
of
the
many.
intelligence
One of
agency.
many. There are others.
Yeah, but like it's the one that the citizens of the planet rely on to some extent, not just Americans. So this is extremely worrying, and I don't know how it managed to get this far. But talking about the Khawarij, do you understand that this is an Islamic labeling of things? It's almost as if he's saying, let's not call them ex-Muslims because that might be offensive to Muslims. Let's call them infidels. Let's call them acceptable term, infidels or murtad. That is, he's using an Islamic framing and categorization to label radicals. And again, remember, Khawarij are considered the Khawarij, they're labeled as Khawarij in the Islamic world, not because of their brutality, not because of their level of violence, but because Islamically they had their wrong beliefs, which meant they were takfiris. That was the issue with them. Because the Khawarij did not commit more violence than Imam Ali or Muawiyah. In fact, in total, they might have committed less violence in total than Ali and Muawiyah, right? It was just that they had the wrong beliefs. So if your intelligence agency is labeling terrorist groups as Khawarij, they're basically submitting to this line of thinking that it's not their brutality or the killing of innocents that we have an issue with, is that within Islam, they have specific beliefs, and that's what makes them problematic. If you have other Islamic beliefs, that is okay with killing people, because so if you have mainstream Sunni beliefs while committing acts of terror, then you're not Khawarij. If you have mainstream Shia beliefs that is committing terrorism, then you're not Khawarij. ISIS is specifically takfiri. That's why they're calling them Khawarij. If you do the same level of violence under the brand of Shia Islam, while you have proper Shia beliefs and you have Shia ideology excusing your violence and act of terror, technically within Islam, you're not Khawarij. You're just Shia. You're just extremist Shias. You're radical Shias. What are they doing? How does he not even understand this? Because I mean, I understand if a senator or a congressman doesn't understand the nuances of Islamic ideologies, but for you to be working in an intelligence agency and you need to know these things inside and out, you need to know these things better than I do. So I don't understand how they managed to get
I mean, this is an ordinance from their
this
DEI
far
office.
looting that.
Are we surprised?
Yeah, I don't know.
The
This is
brilliant
insane.
intellectual contributors coming from DEI offices? Give me a break.
What What is a DEI office? I don't know. Hold on.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Oh, why do they have a DEI office there? Wait, which intelligence is this? CIA or
No, no, this is the Office of the Director of National Intelligence.
okay? Okay, why do okay? So this is not
But
any of
Armin,
the
like, please explain. Like, being called Khawarij is seen as like very, very offensive
yeah, but we don't
to
care
many,
about
many Muslims.
offending them. Yeah, but we don't care about offending them. It's it should technically Muslims who are radical should not be offended by this, because they're like, oh, good. So when they call the ISIS Khawarij, that means that our radicalism is not seen as problematic, right? They shouldn't be offended. They're like, our
Oh, cool.
terrorism,
We're in
because
the
we're
clear.
not Khawarij,
Like, what
we're
the
in the clear, like, because we're not takfiring anybody. Like, if I'm Hamas, I'm like, I'm not Khawarij. Like, ISIS is takfiring people, so that's Khawarij. When did Hamas takfir people? So they're not Khawarij. You cannot, like that. Just doing crazy shit doesn't make you Khawarij. So basically, this is a stamp of approval of Hamas radicalism. Maybe this guy doesn't even understand what he's talking about.
I mean, again, this is not like this is just some ordinance from their DEI office. So who even freaking knows who came up with it? They
This,
also exposed
you
some
know what
other
this
really
shows?
crazy
You know what
ordinances.
this shows? This shows that DEI because you okay. These diversity offices, that means that they're the people who are consulting, that they're talking to them and giving them advice. They're Muslims. They're Islamists. Because where would you get this language from? You're like, when they are like, when you will only this will only come to your mind if some Muslims are talking to you and say like, "Hey, we're against the same people you are. We consider ISIS Khawarij," and this guy would like, "Okay, these Muslims call them Khawarij. Let us call them Khawarij because that's the vocabulary that they like." This shows that they're getting their information and their knowledge by talking to the wrong people.
Exactly, because it's such a specific term. Also, I also just think it's a bad idea to like use the term being Khawarij because just in the sense that the likelihood that any most Americans would be able to pronounce that is pretty low.
Actually, that is very smart. You know why? Because you're like, oh, these people are not radical. They're Khawarij. And an average American would be like, what is Khawarij? And they were like, oh, this is what Muslims call the terrorists. And this is such beautiful propaganda, because they were like, oh, so Muslims are against these terrorists. So I thought Islam is for terrorism. But now I see that they have their own label against them. Oh, this is very effective propaganda to try to make it seem like Islam has a problem with this themselves. This is what Sunnis do. Sunnis call these ISIS Khawarij, um, as a way to dismiss them. But Shias use Hussein, because Hussein was fighting Yazid, and like, hey, we're not radicals. Our main hero was fighting these type of people. So that's their narrative.
Guys, it goes so deep. It goes so deep.
Shias, when they want to say that they're not terrorists, you know what they do? They say they make terrorism a Sunni thing. They're like, look, ISIS is Sunni, Al Qaeda is Sunni, and even if they want to go one step further, they say Hamas is Sunni. They're all Sunni. They're all Sunni. So it's not Shia Islam, it's Sunni Islam. All right. But here's the thing: who's the mayor's supporter? Who's funding them? It's Islamic Republic of Iran. Anyways.
No, this is the trick of people like Imam Tawhidi, who's like, I'm the Imam of peace. I'm the one who's gonna call it like it is on Islam, blah blah blah. And I'm like, dude, you are a crypto Shirazi Shia. Like,
Right.
mm,
Shiraz.
those Shirazi
Oh,
Shias.
do we have a rant today?
We do
Amikai's
not have a rant today. We already are going pretty long.
yes, but we did have a rant prepared for this week, which maybe we could do next week because we
Oh,
get
certainly,
overtime. So
certainly.
let's
I
do
got
it
I
next
got a
week.
couple locked in the chamber. Don't worry.
You have
Um,
good, good. Let's do the super chats.
yes, super chats. Great Red Menace, thank you. Saying to celebrate, could you do a meeting with other members of the community in Discord? Oh, that's a good idea.
Yes, let's do that. That's a great idea. Fantastic. I love it. Great idea.
Um,
Okay.
Erican gave a super chat saying Khawarij are Ibadi, Ahmadi, and Quranist Muslims.
No,
I don't think
their
that's
bodies
technically
came
correct.
off. Okay, their
Yeah.
bodies is like completely has mutated to. Yes, the origins of their bodies are Khawarij, but that is completely something else, which is so strange because their bodies are not. The Khawarij were supposed to be the most extremist, violent ones. The body that came out of it is now the most mellow. It is the most mellow, peaceful version of
Now
it.
we
So
literally go and they're like, "Can you please help us with negotiations?"
Right, right, right.
Oh,
In Oman, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
in "Oh, chill, ibadis." Um,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
and I don't think the Ahmadis and Quranist Muslims count as Khawarij. Um,
No.
no.
Yeah.
Kevin gave $5 with no comment. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you
SDA,
for your
thank you
support.
for the Canadian $10, saying, "Have you seen Cosmic Skeptic interview with William Craig, where Craig defended children slaughter on God's command? Dark Matter 2525 made videos about it." I have seen that.
I haven't seen that, but I want to remind everybody that Cosmic Skeptic, you still haven't talked about the massive revolution after all this time. I know you saw my message, and you ignored me, even though this was the most important secular anti-religion revolution in the history of the world, and you decided to ignore this event. You decided not to talk about it, even though before you have talked about certain events like this. I just want to mention that it's a shame that you decided to ignore your fellow atheists in Iran over this. So there's that.
Okay, ending the stream on a call out. And All Colors gave us another super chat. Thank you. Saying, by the way, sorry for the prior super chat. There's a reason why me and my people don't want to be lumped with the Europeans, and it's pretty dark. TBH. Thanks. Well, my apologies for any Sardinians that I offended. um, okay. Well, that was a great stream today. We hit 50K. This is an awesome moment for a community. Guys, if you
Thank
are
you, guys.
watching this on Twitter, make sure to come over to YouTube and subscribe. Um, and thank you for joining us today. We're also going to have a very juicy, very, very juicy stream next week. I already have a bunch of stories lined up. And yeah, make sure to tune in. Thank you for
Oh,
supporting the
we got
channel
another
and
super
supporting our
chat.
work.
Let's
Ah,
do this one.
Charles, thank you. Saint Susie, did you like the result of my Lion and Sun project? I did. That was well executed. Charles is sending me
Awesome.
like uh music videos he makes.
Guys, we need to have a project where we get an emoticon for the flag of Iran with the lion and the sun, because right now if you use the emoticon for a flag of Iran, you don't get Iran's flag, you get the Islamic Republic's flag. The actual flag of Iran does not have the Allah symbol in the middle. It actually has a lion with a sun, and the lion is holding a sword. So we need to get that emoticon, the official emoticon of. We can't make it the official, but we just want it as an option available. So there's that.
We need to
Anyways,
petition
guys.
Apple. We need to petition the Emoji Council to make the Shiro
Yes,
Rashid.
emoji. Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.